Great. Well, thanks everybody for having us today. Thank you for the distinguished panelists. Today our topic is going to be Cool Japan, the road to 2020. I think it's an exciting topic. I wanted to start off just to give everyone a chance to do a little bit of a self-introduction, to get to know them a little better. So we start. Alan, you just got off the stage, but
I can do another introduction. So I mean, everyone's probably just heard me boring them about rugby, but so my name's Alan Gilpin. I am the COO of World Rugby and the head of Rugby World Cup, and I probably like to think of that as I have kind of one responsibility that is everything to do with the growth of rugby, which I was just talking about in the previous session, but my kind of baby is Rugby World Cup, and therefore very much a journey towards Japan 2019 and spending a lot of time obviously in Japan as a result.
Great. Ken Ohtake from Sony Music.
Hello, I'm Ken Ohtake from Sony Music Japan. I do the corporate planning for the diversification of business models, as well as I'm in charge of increasing synergy between Sony's entertainment companies such as pictures, music, and music publishing. Thank you.
Kuni?
Hello, I'm Kunihiro Morimura, President and CEO of Dentsu Sports Asia. The Dentsu is a company Dentsu Sports Asia is a company owned by the Dentsu Inc. and Dentsu Sports Asia looks after all kind of sports business in Asian territories. And of course, we talk about the towards 2020, more focusing the Rugby World Cup and the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, Paralympics. But of course, in Asian point of view, we just finished Southeast Asian Games in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, a couple of weeks ago. And for Dentsu Sports Asia, next biggest event is the Asian Games next year in Palembang and Jakarta. And of course, the more exciting event in Asia for us is every opportunity is sports marketing related to the special Japan markets. We very much are engaging and are happy to involve every kind of business.
Great, thank you. And Enokida-san in a very traditional Japanese garb.
Okay, こんにちは。Enokida Ryuji と申します。
Good day. My name is Ryuji Enokida.
私は音楽家で、メディアプロデューサーで、日本の伝統的な身体教育の研究者で、そしてオリンピックの委員もやっております。
I am a media producer and musician, as well as a researcher of Shintai Bunka, a traditional study of human physiology and physical education. I'm also a member of the Tokyo Olympic Committee. Thank you for having me.
Great, thank you, gentlemen. So I just want to go with a quick overview of what we're going to discuss today. We were talking about, this road to 2020, and obviously the very important 2019 Rugby World Cup. Kind of the important points I wanted to highlight is, the symbolism and kind of what's happening in Japan right now. In 1964, the Tokyo Olympics was hugely symbolic, provided a platform for a new Japan, modern, efficient, technology-driven, and competing on the world stage. And one of the biggest symbols of the Tokyo Olympics in 1964 was maybe the bullet train, which was the technology was going to move the country forward. This cutting-edge technology of the time showcased the ability to innovate and execute, and heralded a new generation of Japanese companies who went global. Made in Japan became a global symbol of quality and superior design. Now we're talking about the brand of Japan, the exporting of culture. It seems like a key theme of the exporting of culture is how you cultivate and curate how the world sees you. There's maybe nothing so powerful as the ability to get others to talk about you. And in this age of social media, it is clearly amplified like never before. So in 2020, what is the symbol that will showcase to the world the next generation of Japanese innovation? What is Japanese sport and culture? What does it take to compete at the global level? Japan itself is opening up like never before. I think from 3 or 4 million tourists a year, this year there'll be over 30 million tourists, and predictions that it'll be over 40 million tourists a year by 2020. So there's real change, I think, in the country. Well, we could talk often about K-pop and Korean cultural exports being massively successful on a global scale. I think this year it's close to $7 billion. One of the important, I think, factors, Japan is one of the major markets for those cultural exports. So there really has been an opening up and an engagement as never before. Japan, I think, is changing and engaging up for the world for the next 20 or 30 years, and it'd be great to talk to the gentleman how the next 3 years is going to lay the foundation for those changes. So I'd like to ask each of the panelists to give a little bit of a description of what is the road to 2020 for you, respectively. Maybe I'll start with Enokida-san.
その僕は実は前のオリンピックの年の生まれで1964年の生まれです。
I was actually born at the 1964 at the first Olympics, the Tokyo Olympics.
あれから53年も経ってしまったんですけど。
So before I knew it, 53 years has passed.
今回2020年のオリンピックで何か新しいテクノロジーであるとかそういったことが多分メインになってくるとはちょっと思っていません。
I don't particularly feel that any new innovations or technologies are specifically going to be coming out of the next 3 years and the 2020 Olympics.
私が考えるにはそのクールジャパンっていうそのコンテンツではなくてそのクールジャパンを生み出す日本の、もっとそこにある何かみたいなものが多分その世界に共有されるような場になっていくんじゃないかと思っています。
Instead of specifically contents as a definition of cool Japan, I'm thinking more in terms of something particularly specific to the Japanese heritage.
目に見えるものではなくて目に見えないものですね。
Particularly not something that is physical or a product, but more of something that's not visible, something that is more of an intellectual property.
私今日こんな格好してきてますけども。
So I have come in this particular outfit.
私は実は20代の頃交通事故の後遺症で死にかけました。
And in my 20s, I was actually involved in a rather severe motorcycle accident that left me near death.
大きな病院を何個も回ったんですけども。
And I went to several major university hospitals and had all kinds of tests and treatments.
結局西洋医学では治らずに、僕が今のように復活したのは日本の伝統的な体の使い方を教えてくれる先生との出会いが私をこういうふうに復活させました。
And despite all the best medicines available in Western medicine, nothing was able to cure me. And as a result, I began to investigate these traditional Japanese sports medicines and physiology, and was able to overcome a severe paralysis of the left side of my body.
そういった深い文化っていうものと触れてですね、それが日本のテクノロジーや現在のいろんな文化とつながっているということを知りました。
So from my experience, rather than a specific sort of product in terms of technology, my experience has been a involvement with traditional Japanese medicine and historic Japanese culture that is tied to technology, and I feel that this is something that will be very interesting to introduce to the world.
私のオリンピックの委員でのミッションもそういった日本の文化自体が日本人が忘れてしまっているので、それをまず日本人に自覚してもらうこと。
So my specific goal as a member of the Tokyo Olympic Committee is not only to introduce the Olympics to the world, but also to reintroduce to the Japanese people and reawaken the awareness of its historic and traditional culture.
そしてその文化を世界中の皆さんと共有して、そこから新しい何かを生み出していくという。
And I would like to see, and I'm very curious about how this will be perceived by the visitors and from people from all around the world, and how that interaction with Japanese culture will be received.
そういうことを考えています。
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kuni, maybe from the perspective, you're at Dentsu Sports, so you're involved with sports and associations and leagues, but also obviously the biggest brands in the world. What does the road to 2020 mean for brands in Japan?
Yeah, I mean, for 2020 Olympics, is a lot of things we have to achieve. But for Dentsu Sports Asia point of view, since I'm based in Singapore, look after Asian market, so therefore I need to build the momentum to 2020. Which is 2019 is the Rugby World Cup, 2020 Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics. A lot of people talk about Olympics, but we also have a Paralympics. So 2020 we have Olympics and Paralympics. And 2021, the Japan will host the FINA, the World Aquatics Championship. So 3 big events is the hosting in Japan. So this is something as a lot of challenge. Of course, the every 3 big event is a different target, different the sports, but this is something looking back 1964 Tokyo Olympics was a more people talk about infrastructure a lot, the highways and bullet train, a lot of infrastructure at that time 1964 was built. But this time, 2020 Olympics is more like a sustainability. Just make sure people remember also people to engage. A lot of people, Tokyo Olympics want to engage in some point, but this is our role is to make sure every single Japanese people to engage in the 3 big events. Tokyo Olympic is not for the Tokyo alone. This is should be nationwide, the big events. So this is something we like to, not only for promoting in Japan, but also promoting in Asia. We are working very closely with the broadcaster athletes, National Olympic Committee, national federations, and all the sponsors. All the brands is very keen to activate, but some brands doesn't know how to activate. So this is something our role is to connect all stakeholders. And just make sure to bring as many people as possible to Japan to 3 major events.
Great, thank you. Ken, from the perspective of Sony Music or PROMIC on the content side, music side?
Yes, I think although we have hosted the first Olympic for Japan in 1964, this next Olympic will be the first commercial Olympics for us to host, because I think Olympics has changed after Los Angeles Olympics in 1984. And the past Olympics, like London and a few others, has been really successful. And then the Rugby World Cup, which is coming in 2019, will be some kind of phenomenal for Japanese sports industry as well as entertainment, because there was a big change in our rugby scene in the past 2 years with increasing enthusiasm to rugby sports itself. However, our culture, unlike the bullet train or any product situation which we experienced in 1964, this time will be more kind of intangible thing that you'll be seeing in Tokyo. For instance, like we have a lot of fans who loves Japanese pop culture around the world, including music, fashion, maybe food, and something else as well. But during this Olympics and also the Rugby World Cup, I would like to have more people beyond our existing Japanese fans to see and to experience what the Japanese culture and what the Japanese pop scene is. So this could be very valuable showcase for us, for the people around the world to know and to have a better understanding. And then, like post-Olympics term, we will have some kind of harvest from what we seed in coming 2 or 3 years, I think.
Great, thanks. And Alan, from the perspective of rugby, the road to 2020, obviously you mentioned earlier that you have the sevens,
yeah,
Olympics in 2020, as well as the World Cup in 2019, and the first time the World Cup is being held out of or maybe the second time being held out of a non-Commonwealth country.
Yeah.
So yeah, the road to 2020?
I think it's probably 2 converging roads for us. We know one that leads to 2019 and Rugby World Cup, and we talked about that obviously in the previous session, but that's hugely important for the growth of the sport for us, and Rugby World Cup plays a big role in what we're seeing as the growth of rugby, I guess in 2 ways. One is it's our one opportunity once every 4 years to really project on a global stage that we don't have year in, year out. We're increasingly finding those opportunities year in, year out, but it still is the thing that drives the biggest audience engagement, and it's also the thing that drives the biggest commercial engagement, and therefore, it's massively important to the investment that we make in the sport on a 4-year cycle. So World Cup's really important, and Japan as part of that journey is really important. And as you mentioned, it's probably our first time out of rugby's traditional stronghold kind of territories to host a World Cup. That's not to say that rugby's not well established in Japan, and Japan will be a great host for us. And then there's this second road, which is Tokyo 2020 and rugby sevens as an Olympic sport. And again, sevens is become the real driver of global development for rugby in terms of new audiences. So those 2 roads are running parallel at probably different speeds, but will converge very much in Japan. I probably agree with what Ken just said. I think in terms of the experience for us as a sport, but also for Japan as a host, that it's a 2-way road to Tokyo 2020. One is all the things that we're doing as sports and in creating entertainment that will be hosted in Japan, but also how Japan uses those 2 and 3 big events to really project itself on a world stage. And I think, I'm lucky enough now to spend a lot of time in Japan, and it's a incredibly fascinating culture, and you learn very quickly about the depth of culture and the history and heritage of Japan. But I think Japan maybe hasn't either had the opportunities or done enough to project that globally in the past. And I think there's a real opportunity for Japan to sort of demystify itself on a global stage that, we're very sort of proud to be part of that.
Great. Awesome. I'm actually wearing a USA water polo t-shirt, which is sort of like rugby in the water, just to make that point. So I think that's a big theme, I think, for everybody. But, accessibility. So Japan is a fascinating, wonderful place that has amazing food. It's incredibly hospitable. There's all sorts of incredible culture. There's all sorts of fantastic things, but maybe it hasn't done a fantastic job of bridging that to the rest of the world, making it easy. Language is an issue, kind of accessibility. It used to be 3 million people a year. Now it's 30, going to 40, so you have a lot more communication. I think there's an interesting figure that from Southeast Asia, 60% or 70% of the people that visit are on their 2nd trip or 3rd trip or 4th trip. So people are coming multiple times and really engaging. But how do you access it? From the point of everyone at this conference, that's great, Japan's really fascinating, interesting. How do we take part in any of this? What does the brand of Japan mean to us? How do we access it is a big issue. So maybe Kuni, from your perspective at Dentsu?
Yeah, I think accessibility is always a problem. That's a lot of people want to go to Japan, but people don't know what to do. Information is not much available, so therefore people go to Tokyo and Osaka, Kyoto, and if people repeater go to the probably Hokkaido for skiing. But from a sports marketing point of view, I think 3 major events, post 3 major events, I like to promote more sports tourism. A lot of sports in Japan open to the people, especially Asian market. And luckily, J League, Japan football, and a few the national federations looking to promote their domestic sports into the Asian market. So Japan has we have a lot of tennis, baseball, and sumo, and even table tennis, badminton, a lot of sports, competitive level, Japan can produce, Japan can offer. So this is something also my challenge, also my company challenge, is make sure that the people has accessibility to the sporting events in Japan. So that's the ticket information and venue information, city information, a lot of sports organizations we are talking to. So, this is something, next 3 years, I'd like to promote sports in Japan and make sure after 3 major events, people are more easily accessible to sports in Japan. So baseball, I think a lot of people nowadays, I see foreigners visiting, and even football is, I see some, the people coming, but I like to promote more and more. Once people get into the sports in Japan, people love it. So this is something we try to promote.
Great, thank you. Ken, so from entertainment perspective, how do you access the rest of the world and make it easier?
Right, in many ways, since our market has been quite lucrative, we've been kind of really protective in approaching the new media, and also accessing from Japan to abroad were kind of limited experience for a lot of Japanese people. During this time, I think increasing demands and increasing interest from foreign countries can open our market and the attitude towards accessing each other, as well as some regulations has to be adopted, some infrastructure has to be renewed. So this could be a very good timing for us to change, and I think we need some kind of foreign pressure for that.
Foreign pressure, right. Okay, great. Alan, do you have any perspective on how to make it easier to access? I'm sure you guys do ticketing and information for an event like rugby, but
I think the challenge for Japan, but the great opportunity is to open up, and maybe that's not something that Japan traditionally has done maybe enough of or well enough, and that's to the rest of Asia and obviously to the rest of the world. And you know, I'm lucky in this industry, as a number of us are, where you travel all over the world, and I don't think there's anywhere in the world where you get the warmth of welcome, the genuine kind of hospitality that you get in Japan. And I think Japan just needs to kind of feel that more and show that more and be proud to be on that global stage. And I'm sure that's what they have in store, you know, particularly for these big events. I think, you know, and we've mentioned it, the sort of sports tourism angle is really interesting and important for Japan as well. And these big events obviously provide a great opportunity to bring fans in with a reason to visit. And again, the challenge is how do you turn that into people who, after the event, become advocates for that country. So, you know, from a Rugby World Cup point of view, one of the things we kind of always sell ourselves on in terms of our host nations is that we've got this great 6-week festival of rugby, and we'll bring fans from all over the world, and they'll stay for a long time. Now, the average stay of a rugby fan at a Rugby World Cup is approaching 2 weeks. It's a long piece of engagement. It's a great opportunity for fans to see lots of different parts of Japan, and maybe, you know, hopefully our point of distinction with Tokyo 2020 is that Rugby World Cup will take place, you know, right from Hokkaido and in the north down to, you know, Kumamoto in the south, and, you know, 12 great host cities. So people will see more than just, you know, normally just probably Tokyo and Osaka and Kyoto. So I think there's great opportunities there.
Great. Yeah, I saw something recently that said that there was a surge of tourists originally that were very interested in shopping, and that the second surge, which is actually a lot more Europeans, stay longer and are very focused on experience.
Yep.
So they're spending longer time in the country and doing things as opposed to just shopping. So there's different kinds of engagement, but it's very interesting. Enokida-san, do you have a perspective?
僕らのそのオリンピックの委員でも話題になるんですけども、そのトラフィックっていうこともありますけど、まあ一つは言葉の問題と、あとはやっぱりそのたくさんの人が来た時にそのいろんな地域で宿泊する施設がやっぱり足りなくなる。
As a member of the Olympic Committee, this is something that we discuss quite frequently in terms of inbound traffic and what to do with so many people who come and visit, specifically in terms of logistics and places to stay. We're very concerned about this.
でそうするとですね、日本にはその古民家といいましてね、古い日本の建物、いいところに田舎にいっぱいそういう古民家があって、多分海外の方が喜ぶようなところがいっぱいあるんですね。
However, there are many traditional old buildings in Japan called minka, and I believe that foreigners would really appreciate and love an opportunity to stay in such places.
しかしそこに人を止めようとすると保健所が必ずやってきて文句を言いに来ます。
However, anytime you try to do something like this, the officials begin to come and start making problems for renting out such places.
まずそこから変えていかないとですね、厳しいと思うんで、そちらの方は政府と組んでいろいろやっていきたいと思っています。
So this is the first thing that we need to overcome is the ability to work with the government and make such accessibility to such fabulous locations available to our foreign visitors.
Great, thank you. So I was coming, the last time I went to Tokyo, when you go in Haneda Airport, there's big signs already that say, "Welcome Tokyo 2020." There's a huge focus. It's become, I think, ubiquitous in the country. When you say 2020, everybody knows that means Tokyo Olympics. And I've been in meetings over the last 2 or 3 months where, you know, kind of foreign colleagues have been in discussions and people talk about 2020 like they would know that that's the implication. So it's obviously become something which is incredibly important. And it's a symbol, I think, not just of a sporting event, but of a movement. Which is trying to open up and embrace and change. And I think it's been actually embraced by people in Japan, probably in a way that, you know, never happened before. But why? Why is it so important? Why does the 2020 Olympics, why is this such a motivating, you know, mobilizing thing for Japan right now in 2017? Ken, do you have a perspective?
Why is important? It is important because these days, nowadays, it's really easy for us to learn something through internet or whatever the media. But this time, these 2 occasions in 2019 and 2020, people can really experience what's going on and what's happening in Japan through the sports events, as well as a lot of surrounding events, including cultural events, food events, and so on and so on. So everything is being shifted to experience business model rather than possessing business models.
Right.
So this could be the best showcase for the better understanding of who we are.
Right. Great. Alan, what do you think?
I'd love to see more of those posters turned into Rugby World Cup 2019 posters for sure. But no, I think the Olympic Games is such a symbolic moment for any host nation, and I think Japan have, they were pursuing the Olympic Games for a long time, and obviously were successful in being awarded 2020. And there's a huge amount, I think, of national pride and national identity now invested in 2020, and there's huge corporate support certainly behind 2020 as well. So I think it is incredibly well promoted already in Japan, and it probably feels to a lot of us like, my God, that's quite early to be really singing from the rooftops about an event. We certainly didn't see that in London 2012, and I don't think they did in terms of Rio 2016 either. But Japan is got a real sense of national pride behind the Olympics in a way I think probably a previous host hasn't had.
Right. Great. Kuni, what do you think from Dentsu's perspective?
I think 2020 is going to be a big game change. And since 2002 FIFA, the Football World Cup, Japan, Korea co-hosted. I was in charge of the event, but people was waiting. After 2002 World Cup, economy slowed down. People lost their, the future. So a lot of young people, didn't have much dream. But last, nearly 20 years, so Japan, people wanted to something big, an event to come back. So I think Tokyo 2020 gonna be, people are waiting to come to the big event to the country. And of course now it's lucky the economy is a little bit slowly picking up. And also corporate sectors, want to invest also to sports to showcase their new technology. So there's a reason for all the corporates, the brands, to showcase and so to spend money. And as you have seen, Tokyo Olympics domestic sponsor, over 50 companies already signed up. And most of the companies signed up before the Rio Olympics. So which is even 4 years before the 2020 Olympics, more than 50 companies signed up for the Olympic sponsorship. I think pretty much a lot of people agree that the Japanese people's mindset is it takes time to make decisions, but once people make decisions, they commit. So I think a lot of people, talk a lot of talk, but never made any decisions. But once governments commit, and people go that direction. So now everybody talk about 2020. And all the corporate sectors talk about it, and they want to start to showcase their technologies. So I think it'll be a big game change. And the reason why Tokyo is so 2020 is so big is this is something people are waiting for, and gonna be this a big game change, I believe. Yeah.
So we know that rugby is a national, tournament, and the Olympics is just Tokyo. But you think this time the whole country is embracing? It's not just Tokyo people. I believe so, and also the sport is taking place outside of outskirts of Tokyo, different cities. I think that's why I'm seeing that's a combination of the Rugby World Cup, which is nationwide, 12 cities, and also versus Tokyo Olympics. One city plus other multiple venues, it's gonna be good combination. Citywide, also nationwide. These two events are gonna be huge. I believe a huge game change, and not only for the people living in the city side, but also countryside. Everybody benefits from two major events. Right. Great. Thank you. Enokida-san.
やっぱり僕のその委員としての課題というのがありまして、それは東京オリンピックがあること自体はみんな知ってます、日本人は。ただそれが自分事として捉えられていない、これが一番大きな問題です。
The Japanese people know that there is an Olympic coming, but in terms of the actual specific interest in the event, it's still quite a question mark for those of us on the Olympic Committee.
当然その自分との関わりを発見しない限りは日本人はコミットしてこないので、その関わりをどういうふうに見出していくかということが僕の課題です。
Specifically, individually, Japanese citizens, each individually, how will I contribute to the Olympics is a question that we hope that we'll be able to answer so that there's better interaction with Japanese citizens and they will therefore be a bigger part of the Olympic Games instead of it just being a Tokyo event.
ちょっとまた根本的な話で恐縮なんですけども、例えばラグビーもそうですし、オリンピックすべてのスポーツ、やっぱりトップアスリートっていうのは美しいですよね。
I'm sorry, I would like to get kind of specific about one particular point here, but just like with rugby and any athlete, there's a certain aestheticism and beauty in the athlete.
いいプレーには非常に興奮しますね。
For any kind of fantastic athletic prowess or the demonstration of such athleticism, we get very excited.
今までのオリンピックといいますか、そういったスポーツのイベントというのは、僕の個人的な意見ですけども、その興奮のところだけを消費しているような気がしています。
This is my opinion, however. I feel that, and it's natural for this to happen, that for any specific sporting event or act, we see that as a single action.
結局そのスポーツのアスリートといわゆる一般の人たちというものは、遠く距離があるような感じ。
Of course, this is natural given that there is a distance between us as spectators and the athlete themselves.
そのアスリートがどうしてそういうふうに美しくなれたのか、つまり自分をどうやって秩序立ててその能力を発揮してきたのかっていうところをきちんと分析していくことは、自分がどうよりよく生きていくかっていうことに非常に役立つことだと思うんですね。
I believe, however, that when we get closer to and analyze the reason for this beauty, that it's a culmination of many years of training and diligence, that we begin to find a deeper connection to the actual event itself.
そういったドラマといいますか、その人のストーリーを共有していくような形を、日本人が、そのラグビーの選手であるとか、そのオリンピックのアスリート、あと水泳の選手の物語とコミットすると、もっとよりよくその、オリンピックが非常に一体感のあるものになると思うし、そこから新しいビジネスも生まれてくるんじゃないかというふうに僕は今期待しています。
And this drama that is involved with each individual athlete and the events that occur, whether it's in the rugby in 2019 or the Olympics or the swimming that is to come in Japan, when we get deeper and understand how closely understand more closely the relationship between the athlete and the many years of diligence that was required to attain such a pinnacle of perfection and beauty, then these will create many business opportunities.
Great, thanks. So I think you're talking about this story. So every brand has a great story, and so we're talking about the brand of Japan. So what does that mean? What is the brand of Japan? How does that compare with the brands of other countries? Do you think, Ken?
Brands with other countries. I think.
What makes it unique? What's something very
I think
special?
a lot of things are undiscovered, and now we have a lot of the actual product exported from Japan to various countries, and those products are really kind of popular. But there's something behind. There's some spiritual kind of base that we have in Japan will be kind of added value to what other countries' products are. So during this time, with the attachment of excitement of the event, I think there will be more enthusiasm towards Japan is expected. And I truly believe that that'll happen in coming 3 years.
Great, thanks. Kuni, what do you think? The brand of Japan? How would you sum that up?
Brand Japan is a very big topic. So something I don't have the right answer, but something I think next 3 years are very challenging. But of course, what we are going to export, what we're going to tell to the world, this is very, very important. And at this moment, I don't have an answer because we don't have any good manufacturing, the expertise anymore. What we can, what we produce and what we are going to export to the world. of course, a lot of people talk about Japan has the quality, the hospitality, but what's more, So this is something, three big sporting events. I really want, a lot of time I talk about the more Japanese need to, be more proactive, and I hope after 3 years, a lot of Japanese people open their mind and they love the sport. I hope a lot of people start to work in international federations. So this human resources is very important, especially for sports industry. Not many people, outspoken or proactive talk about what they do in the conference like this. So this is something I always think about: the human resources, how to export, the Japan's sports know-how to the world. And also, this is at least Japan proof that we hosted the FIFA World Cup. We are going to host the Olympics, the Rugby World Cup, IWF World Athletics, all the major events we hosted already. So this is something what we can do next, what we can do, what we can export. So this is Japan's ink through sports. This is something I still need to, look at what's our strength and what we can, do for the world.
Okay, great, thanks. We're starting to get closer on time, so I was going to jump to maybe the next question and have everybody respond to this one. But New Year's Day 2021, looking back, how will people summarize the last few years of sports, culture, entertainment? So we have the Rugby World Cup, we have the Olympics, we have all these amazing things happening. We have not just the 3 years now, but the few years before this, building up to this. And when it's all over, which is just, the end of those events, but just the beginning maybe of what we were talking about, this progression. So how will people look back and what's the legacy? What happens next? So, Alan?
Good question. I guess there's legacies, from a selfish perspective, from a sporting point of view, and you obviously want to use these events to develop the sporting kind of culture of the country and have more people, looking at the wider Olympic perspective, more people playing and interested in sport and a kind of healthier lifestyle as a result, not just in the host nation, but that's the objective more widely. And I think, going back to the last question, and there's a piece of what does Japan want out of hosting these big events, and how does Japan want itself to be seen on a global stage? And, we touched on it there, this great kind of hospitality culture, the heritage and the history of Japan, that's incredibly unique, needs to be projected to the world. So I think maybe in 2021, when we look back at hopefully a really successful couple of years, people will have seen the Japanese population really engage with these events, really be, hugely excited about being the host and not just passively, engage with the events, as it were. So I think, success for Japan as a nation, is the vibrancy of the events and the way the Japanese public react to them.
Great, thank you. Ken?
Like it was in England, in Britain. Post-Olympics, London Olympics, the music industry in Britain has grown. There are a lot of music exports, like a lot of EDMs, Adele, Ed Sheeran. That was mostly after the Olympics. So maybe
the whole American music industry is run by Brits now, so
that's right.
They exported that too.
And all the major record companies' chairman is now British.
Yes.
So this is something that's, the consumer felt it was attached to what they've seen during this Olympics, 2 months or so, a little less than that. So we have to seed a lot of images and a feeling about Japan towards our harvest after 2020.
Great, thank you. Kuni, what do you think?
2021, I'm pretty sure I'll come back here in the Sports Matters and talk about the, they look back the 2019, 2020, the Rugby World Cup and Olympics, Paralympics. I think pretty sure Japan will be a success, that's for sure, operationally and commercially, for sure. And because of everybody, very much commit to success. But 2021, just to ensure that, as I mentioned, human resources, people, I really hope people start to work in the international level. And so therefore, I'd like more Japanese people to see, to work in international federations. And this is something number one, I'm hoping. Number two, also, the Japan needs to keep continuing to host the international events. Luckily, 2021 FINA, the World Aquatic Championship, hosted in Fukuoka City. 2026 Asian Games in Nagoya City already confirmed.
Okay.
So we need to see more international event to host in Japan because we already proved the operational skills, and for sure commercial will be success. And also we have an infrastructure already. So that's the secondary I like to hope to Japan. And also thirdly, that how to apply to Asian countries, So I really hope other countries like ASEAN countries to co-host Olympics or the Football World Cup in the future. This is where Japan already experienced two major events. So I really see other Asian countries start to raise their hand to bid to host the Rugby World Cup or Football World Cup or the Olympics. I think Asian countries has a capability to do that by that time.
Right.
So I think 2021 also look back, but also look ahead, what we can do. So I think it's gonna be bright, the future, and it's gonna be. I'm pretty sure we don't discourage anybody, and keep people happy. And I just wanna 2021 sitting here, I want to talk about more good story to tell to the people.
Okay, we look forward to that. Enokida-san.
やっぱり日本の文化もそうですけども、日本の文化をもっと海外の人と共有できるようなそういった仕組みっていうものがレガシーとして残せたらいいなっていうふうに僕は考えています。
I would love to be able to say that in 2021, when I look back, that the legacy that we leave is a very deep relationship between Japanese culture and the international community.
文化というのは本当に面白いもので、言語にできないものっていうのはなかなか認識できませんね。
Culture is a very interesting thing, and there are certain concepts that are very difficult to put into words.
例えば観光という言葉がありますけども、
there's a word called tourism, for example.
英語で言うと tourism ですけども、観光という日本語は光を見ると書きます。
In English, you say tourism. In Japanese, we call it kanko, which means shining.
光を見る。
To look at light.
そういったような言葉が持っている意味合いっていうものがあってですね、だから光を見るの光は何かであるかとか、あとは光っていうものをどういうふうに使ったらいいのかみたいな、すごく抽象的な世界をもっといろんな人と交流することで、もっと深く交流することで、日本の文化っていうのはもう2000年続いてますから、非常に世界に貢献できるものも出てくるんじゃないかっていうふうに僕は期待しています。
So in the same way that with Japanese characters, the word itself may mean tourism, but it has as individual calligraphy as Chinese characters has its own meanings as well. And in this case, looking into the light, and as we explore tourism and the effects of the Olympics after post 2020 and 2021 and look back, I'd like to think that there will be a deeper relationship between people and the relationship it has with Japan.
それをどういうふうにビジネスにしていくかっていうことに関してはもう達人の皆さんがここに揃っているんで、私は心配していません。
So in terms of the business and the results that would come from the Olympics and the success with the people here on the stage and with all those that are involved, I have absolutely no concerns about there being a very successful commercial Olympics.
という意味では2021年で振り返った時には、こういうふうにいろんな人がもっと今まで日本では考えられなかったような交流ができるようになったんだねっていうことを言えたら、私としては非常に幸せだと思います。
Therefore, for me, I would like to look back at 2020 and see that many people came to Japan and had a terrific experience interacting with Japan, and I'm sure I'll be surprised by the many ways that foreigners and visitors come to Japan and enjoy that relationship, and that's what I am very much looking forward to.
Great, thank you very much. The future is bright. Do we have any questions? We only have about a minute left, but if there's any questions. Nothing in particular? Okay.
So you guys talked about, it was touched on, that it's difficult to penetrate the Japanese market? I think in all of the fields that you're referring to, but specifically music, maybe Ken can address this. Is there any strategies or anything that international people in music can do to try and penetrate the Japanese market?
To trying to penetrate the Japanese market.
Yeah. Participate in the Japanese market.
You guys been doing it. It's more difficult otherwise, right? But it's, yeah.
I mean, for international music coming in, like how do you, international music sales have gone down, so I think how do you engage more and have a better market in Japan?
Right. So you want to move, you want to switch back to 20, 30 years ago situation, right? It is difficult, but a lot of collaboration can be done. More and more collaboration can be done with the local creators, local brands, local industry people, artists. I think that's the key thing. But it's not, it's...
Well, you're going to pick that up tomorrow in your panel as well, right?
Yeah.
Another panel tomorrow, so...
No,
Ken will give you all the answers tomorrow at his other panel.
I'm speaking like in an hour. Upstairs,
an hour.
so that's easier. Thank you.
Stay tuned. All right. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, everybody.